Good evening and welcome to the Power of Now. I'm Coach Mitchell.
And I'm Coach Darren.
We're so glad you decided to join us tonight as we have a casual conversation about gratitude. So, we're going to dive into this wonderful world of thankfulness and appreciation because, gratitude is not just saying thank you, it's more than that. It's a mindset and a practice that you can truly use to transform your life. Coach?
Yes, and I'm gonna have to step away for a second, but I just want to, say this. Yeah, I kind of see gratitude is almost again, it's part of your lifestyle. It becomes part of who you are, you know.
Mhm.
And I think, as the title said, it should be more than just once a day, it come together for Thanksgiving and I want to say what they're thankful for.
Mhm.
It should be just part of who you are, just like
Right.
living in a, when you say state of mind,
Yes.
when you live in a state of peace,
Mhm.
you know, uh, which I, would say to, male friends, if you want to be a true warrior,
Mhm.
then you got to be in a state of peace.
Right.
Mhm. You
Exactly.
know, uh, and it's something that, it may take effort because uh, we're so conditioned by outside forces that we allow ourselves to be defined by that. And we, in a fast-paced environment, we get frustrated, we live in a state of stress, and all those things will take us away from recognizing what we're grateful for because we'll always look like something's missing.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely. And studies have actually shown that when we show gratitude and appreciation, it can actually boost our mood.
move, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you can possibly probably think of examples where you've been, feeling a little down or
Mhm,
depressed, if you
mhm,
will. But once you started thinking about something that someone else may have done for
mhm.
you, or begin to, ruminate about those things that you really have appreciated along the way,
Mhm.
your mood begins to increase.
Yes,
It begins to lighten up and it helps to reduce stress,
yes.
because
And just one quick thing,
uh-huh,
Coach Mitchell, I need you to carry the conversation for like 1 minute. All right,
okay.
because there's you can go up in the background.
Okay, all right. And it's not just, us opining about how gratitude really does have a positive impact on our lives. Scientists have actually proven through studies that showing gratitude can really boost your mood, it can reduce stress, and it can improve our physical health. So it's just interesting how just a shift of our thought processes and our mindset can change how, you know, our outlook on things. And a shift in our perspective can have such a profound effect on our outlook and our mood.
Yes. And I'm glad to be back.
Welcome back,
Thank
Coach.
you. Yeah. What people, I think are missing is, and I've said this in different contexts, but it really comes back to the same thing, how everything is connected.
Hmm.
You know, our physiology is very much connected to our emotions. As I said, when you look to, for health,
Hmm.
you have your physical, your emotional, your mental, and your spiritual health. They're all interconnected. So, as you're saying, when you're talking about, being in a state of gratitude, that
Hmm.
mindset,
Hmm.
that brings you also into, like I said, into that state of peace. Mhm. And that affects you physically.
Right.
Mhm. Uh, and we've probably seen people, probably know people directly who seem to always complain.
Oh,
Mhm.
I think we all have that one friend that
Yes. Oh,
begrudgingly you pick up the phone because you know that whether it's 5 minutes or 50 minutes, it's going to be from start to finish nothing but moaning and groaning and all of the negative things that may have happened in that person's life, right?
Mhm.
So,
Uh, you know, you have you know those people who are complaining. You have those people who are always looking for a battle, even when there isn't one. When you live in that state of peace, you rise above all of that.
mhm,
Mhm. Uh, and you just learn how to walk away. And I'm gonna go back to what it means to be a true warrior. A true warrior is not to engage in every battle that you can. That's not. If you look at any of the ancient wars, it is, can I avoid the battle?
right, because
Mhm.
there's always a strategy to everything.
Yes. Mhm.
So, I mean, even if you have to go into combat, there's a strategic way to do it, right?
Mhm. Now,
And go ahead, coach.
yeah, because when if you're going to be a warrior, you understand. See, being a warrior isn't just about the physical part; it's about the mental part. And you begin to realize that when you get into a confrontation with someone, and why it should be used as a last resort, is that it's wasted resources,
Mhm.
and which just doesn't make sense. You want to reserve your resources, whether that's your emotions, again, your spiritual energy, your emotional, your mental, and definitely your physical.
Mhm.
So you want to rise above that.
Right, because certainly it takes energy. It takes a lot more energy to fight
Mhm.
than it does to show appreciation and thankfulness. And what happens is when you're bringing that negativity into your space, it takes away from our being able to focus on the things that we really appreciate
Mhm.
and the things that we're thankful for. And I think that social media
Mhm.
has provided an outlet for not just a lot of the negative things that we see happening in the world, but it also gives us an opportunity to spread the goodness and love
Mhm.
and show that the underbelly of the world is not the majority,
Right.
right? And I think we have a lot of keyboard bandits. We have a lot of keyboard
Mhm.
bandits and people who get real courageous and bold in their convictions and what they have to say to strangers. But we have to remember that people, everyone, everyone matters, and people are going through so much. And I find that we're talking about gratitude today, and today is actually Giving Tuesday. So I think giving people the tips, strategies, and techniques
Mhm.
on how they can tap into always having a spirit of gratefulness or gratitude is apropos for the theme of the day.
Mhm. And I I understand how sometimes we can forget to be in a state of gratitude. I get it. You know what? I am not suggesting or implying that we live in some utopia where everything is going to be you know all well and good all
Hmm.
the time. As I've had discussions over the years with people about positive thinking, positive thinking does not mean you're not going to experience some negativity.
Right.
That's not what this is about. You're going to have those moments. But when your intention, which you've heard us share before, when your intention is to live a certain way, that gives you the awareness
Yeah,
to bring you back into the space that you desire to be. Mhm.
absolutely.
So yes, it's easy to lose sight of what to be grateful for when things are not going your way. Uh, we get frustrated. We throw our temper tantrums. We do all kinds of things. And in reality, all we're doing is hurting ourselves. Uh,
Because a lot of times, whomever or whatever we're directing that negative energy towards are really not paying us any mind.
no,
So
they've gone
they're
on.
going on and
Mhm.
they've moved on, or
Mhm.
we're stuck in a place of anger and bitterness. And again, it is just detrimental to ourselves.
Yes.
So I think there are some ways that we can incorporate practicing gratitude into our lives if we don't already have created that structure or that practice, put that practice in place. There are some ways that we can do that, and we'll talk about that as we continue throughout the discussion.
Yes, and as with most things, the, the thing that you want to do is, just stop. Yeah, have a moment, be mindful. Sometimes you have to catch yourself and breathe. Again, how often have we seen someone upset and they're just, you know, totally unwired? They're losing it. And usually the first thing we do, and I think it's kind of instinctive. One, if it's somebody, even I probably if it's somebody that we don't know, we happen to walk up on something, just think how often what you do if you walk up and you see somebody really upset. You usually place your hand on them.
Mm-hmm.
You usually place your hand on their shoulder
Mm-hmm.
and you just try to get them to calm down.
And the first thing you say is calm down.
Yes, calm
9
down.
times out of 10.
No. And then you usually say, breathe.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's almost instinctual that we give the human touch and then we tell people to breathe because the breathing again helps to reestablish, your parasympathetic nervous system, which helps you to calm down.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And then, you can move into bringing the person into various, areas to bring it back into gratitude, which maybe at the time in that moment may not be the discussion that might seem appropriate. You might need a few minutes or, you know, but at some point you want to get the person, you try to bring clarity to the person to say it's really not that big of a deal. And then you venture into having a discussion about the positive, the
Mm-hmm.
things you want to be grateful for.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And I think one of the tips that I would offer in being able to, to discover how to tap into feelings of gratitude is starting a journal.
Mhm.
You know, something, may happen or occur during the course of the day that may make you smile, that you're really thankful for.
Mhm.
Write it down. Write it
Exactly.
down. And I say write it down, not just on a scrap piece of paper,
Mhm.
but have a dedicated notebook. And if
Mhm.
you do happen to have that moment of gratitude when you're away from your gratitude journal, we'll label it, then take that scrap piece of paper and tape it in your book, in your notebook. You don't have to rewrite it, just tape it into your book or insert it in the, in between the pages and date it. Because you always want to have something to reflect back on.
Mhm.
Because what makes you feel good the most when you're thinking back over the times that, you've had good times and you've encountered people that have made you smile, or you've encountered people that you've made smile, you've helped along the way. Those are things to be grateful and appreciative for because those are the things that keep you going.
Yes. Mhm.
So,
Um, and one challenge I like to present to people is try to become the person that you can be grateful for being. Now, what I mean by that, if you've ever had the honor, the pleasure of someone coming to you and telling you something that you did meant a lot to them,
mhm,
you know, like you know, uh, always, share a story of a friend back in college, you know, telling me who I reconnected with
mhm,
a couple years ago. She said when we connected, she said, "Now I always remember that time, we were, running for our physical fitness test. We were running a mile, and I was struggling on that last lap, and you had just completed yours, and you got back on the track and ran with me to push me. I had totally forgot about that." She said, you don't know how much that meant to me
mhm,
because if I had failed that, I was going to have to run it again. uh, and just the fact that you would just do it,
uh-huh.
Uh,
And those are the things, again, when we talk about gratitude and
mm,
being appreciative, I too have a similar story
mm,
of just not being aware of my smile and
mm,
what it may have meant to someone else. I used to serve on a committee,
mm,
And it was a committee where you serve, it was a term committee. So you serve 2 to 3 years depending on your level in the, on the committee. And there was this one young lady who served out her term, and I bumped into her one day, and she said to me, I don't, I have never told you this, but your smile got me through so many bad days. And I was like, oh, I wasn't aware that I had made that impression or I made someone's day brighter just by smiling at them. And it doesn't cost a thing to be nice and kind. And this was maybe a year or two later. But the gratitude in that is that she came back and closed the loop to let me know how appreciative she was that I brought a smile to the table. And, being on the appeals committee, it was in the insurance claims. So it was not a pleasant experience because you're reading about people's conditions and you have to make a determination whether you're going to approve a service or deny it, which could be the impetus of life or death.
Yes.
Or a person's quality of life. So being able to offer a smile to someone who carried the weight of those types of decisions, it meant a lot. It meant a lot. But again, she decided to show her gratitude and appreciation for that. And in return, I felt thankful that I was able to provide that.
Yes. Wow. So, I mean, we can have a whole discussion around all of us trying to live a life that we're grateful for who we are. And I'm not talking about having that attitude where, people say, yeah, this is who I am and you have to accept me. And yes, I'm saying, no, no, it's quieter than that. Again, having that attitude of gratitude will usually bring you into a state of peace. Mhm. And again, that's what being thankful. When you show gratitude, when you show thankfulness, it is usually done in kind of a quiet manner. Now, you might be expressive, when you're showing someone that you're really thankful, but it's really, I kind of, it's kind of a quiet emotion. Uh, because for me, I associate it with, again, being in a state of peace. So when you go through your days, try to say, can I become the person that I'm grateful for being? Mhm. So you'll carry that with all of your actions, your behavior. Is this something I'm going to be grateful for tomorrow?
Right.
Um, and maybe let that be your marker, your guiding post, mhm, in terms of how you live your life.
Right.
And as I said, in difficult, challenging, fast-paced times, we lose sight of gratitude, thankfulness. We're all trying to move from point A to point B and then to Z. And in that rush, 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 you know, uh, we really become discombobulated now and disconnected.
Right. And like you said, it's not about putting on the persona of, oh, I'm happy, I'm just gleeful. No, we all go through challenging times. But I think the challenge in going through the challenging times is trying to find those opportunities and those moments that we can grab onto and appreciate those, moments of gratitude, those little nuggets, those little silver linings that may come even during our times of, difficult times, because it's during those difficult times that we need to find that silver lining, those little glimmers of hope to hold on to, because that's going to keep us afloat, right? That's going to keep us striving, even in the difficult situation. So I think practicing reframing our negative thoughts when we're in those challenging times instead of, you know, consistently harboring on the place that you are. Because if you think about life, you may have had challenging times before, but you've gotten over them. You've come through them, whether it's, by pulling up your bootstraps and moving on or by way of someone giving you a helping hand. The bottom line is that you got through it. You're not going to die in that situation.
Right.
You're not going to die in that situation. And you can overcome it. You can overcome it. As you say, Coach Darren, just keep walking.
Yes.
Just take that step, and you can step right through those difficult and challenging situations. But just reframe the thought and identify those things that you have sort of depended and relied on to get you through other challenging situations.
Yes. And like I said, it takes it's a form of discipline. As we say, everything begins with awareness. Um, so it's being in the moment and being aware of your perception of a situation, how you're placing that situation in the scope of life. Because sometimes we will take a minor situation and blow it out of proportion.
Oh, now you want to talk about the story we tell ourselves in our head?
Mm-hmm. And like I said, it's and like I said, I have friends who like sometimes it is really I would say frustrating. It used to be really frustrating. Now I just observe them who get bent out of shape over every little thing. You know, if someone's not moving fast enough in front of them, someone's not driving properly, everything becomes this volatile situation. And we talk about things being connected. I've shared with them about what they're doing to their body, because those moments where you are selling wolf tickets and going, off the handle, you are burning yourself out. And you ask yourself, and why?
Yeah, I think that goes back to some of our points in being self-aware. But in becoming self-aware, once you're self-aware, then that leads to self-development and self-growth. So, when people are firing on all cylinders, when at the least of things that may usurp someone's, they're not in a happy place anyway.
No.
They're not in a happy place anyway. And there's a lot going on internally that, we may not know about, right? So any little thing triggers them. But in order to get to a place of gratitude and personal growth, you got to be aware of what those triggers actually mean. And why am I being triggered by someone cutting in front of me in traffic? It may be annoying. I may have had this, hit my brakes, but the question has to be asked, why am I really going off if that person is going down the rabbit hole because someone cut them off? And I'm not talking about that one bad day, because some things just happen, and that's the one, that's the last thing, that's the one thing that took me over the edge. I'm talking about those people who, like you said, they're going down the rabbit hole in their emotions, in their feelings. They want to chase someone down, they want to break check someone, whatever it might be. What's really going on? You have to ask yourself what's really going on. And then that's a whole other layer of peeling back the opportunity for personal growth. I got to be more aware of my emotions, what's really happening inside. Why did that trigger me? Why am I feeling this way? and understand that it's an opportunity for self-improvement. That's
Yes.
basically what
Mhm,
I'm saying.
mhm,
It's an
mhm.
opportunity for growth, personal growth. And I think that one of the ways to do that is, again, you show gratitude, identify it when it happens, note it, and if it's something that someone else has done or shown, or you pay it forward in that moment and you think, oh, so and so said this to me or did this for me, let me reach back with a personal thank you,
Mhm.
whether it's by text message, whether it's by phone call or in person. But that's how you start to tap into that gratitude space of thankfulness and appreciation.
Mhm.
And it
Mhm.
begins to grow you, develop you.
Yes, yeah. I think, what, we also about, the awareness being the first step.
Hmm.
And then the awareness or the desire, I'm thinking, at first, yeah, I guess the awareness of knowing that something's not right, something's not comfortable,
Hmm.
the awareness of I'm in a place where I don't want to be, the awareness that maybe this is wrong, something for an individual to get to a point of saying, I want something different.
Hmm.
Uh, and then that gives them the starting point to observe their behavior in certain situations and
Hmm.
then to say, hmm, I probably could have handled that better. I know on my journey of self discovery, it was one of the things where you play back a certain situation where you reacted instead of responding.
Mm.
Uh, and, you know, those moments will probably stay with you, forever. And every time you replay it, you probably cringe like, oh man, that I really acted a fool, you know, uh,
Right.
that day. Now, don't get me wrong. In some cases, you may have had every reason to act out. You know what? We're gonna and could you have handled those better? Yeah, those are truly opportunities to learn. But right now, I'm talking about those moments where you overreacted.
Hmm.
And that's the time where you go, what was going on inside of me that I felt a need to overreact?
Hmm.
And would I do it differently if given the opportunity?
Hmm.
And I think that that's, you know, what, the things we want to strive for. Because, we're someone, you want to learn to respond
Hmm.
than to react.
Right.
You know?
And
Um, again, that's when you're truly on that journey of I want to be a person that I am grateful for being.
mhm.
Mm.
And I think, that is such a poignant point that having the presence of mind to go back and replay your behavior, your actions and reactions is the cornerstone to self-awareness
Hmm.
that brings you into this space of not just peace, but harmony.
Yes.
It brings you
Mm.
into it balances you out, and you have the opportunity to um, assess your behavior and correct it so that the next time you're presented with that situation or you're encountered with, whatever situation it may be, you know how to manage it to the best possible level of your emotions rather than having a knee-jerk reaction, I should say, to your emotions.
Uh, and it's a journey. First you have the awareness that you want to become. Then you have those, potholes that you hit. Mhm. Then you get to the point where you avoid the pothole.
Mhm.
And like I said, that's part of the self mastery. When you get to the point where you know you, like I said, you respond, and you
Mhm.
respond it's a natural thing because you've already decided some time ago that I don't want to be that other person. Now, maybe some people was never that other person,
Mhm.
but they have the awareness uh, to, like I said, to know that's not who I am choosing to be. So therefore, I don't react that way. Now, this is where we get duped because depending on who you're around, you know what? Some people won't understand when you're walking in a place of peace and gratitude. They just don't get it. They're not there yet. And they will tell you to do what most people who are, I'm going to say, puppets, for lack of a better
Yeah,
expression.
yeah,
They're going to convince you to react a certain way. They'll go, well, if that was me, I would have done X, Y, and Z. Well, it's not you.
right. Yeah.
So you
And
ain't doing anything.
right, and it's easy to play Monday morning quarterback.
Yes.
Easy, easy to call the play the day after.
Yes. Mhm.
Easy to call the play, and for the most part, especially if you're in the workplace, those
Mhm.
people that tell you that are the people who will never do it,
Right.
but want someone to stand proxy for something that they really want to
Yes.
do and express. So, never allow other people to take you out of character. That's another
Yes.
point. Never allow anyone else to
Mhm.
take you out of character. I used to get, I would say, rid for my approach at work, especially during the latter half of this my career, um, in being level-headed. Whereas in the earlier part of my career, I would, any little thing would trigger a reaction and a response. But you gain wisdom through experiential living, and my reactions are level-headed and calm, even though I may not always agree with whomever I'm having a discussion
Mhm.
with. I am never taken out of character. And
Mhm.
it's not because of imposter syndrome. It's not because, oh my God, I'm trying to walk a tight rope or line. It's who I've grown to be. I don't need to argue with you about work because we have
Mhm.
one common goal,
Mhm.
and that's to make sure that the organization succeeds, that we hit our goals, we meet our targets. And if that's not the end game, then I don't need to be there, and neither do you. Of
Absolutely.
course, we're going to get paid for our intellectual contribution and our
Mhm.
productivity. That's what organizations do. It's a bi-directional exchange, right? I bring the value, you pay me for it.
Yes.
So I don't need to
Mhm.
argue. I don't need to go back and forth with you about what needs to be done or how it needs to be done. And I'm not going to be bent out of shape because analytics didn't get the script written in time for the release of a product or what have you. It's going to happen. Some things are outside of our control.
Mhm.
Why am I going to be triggered to the point that it's going to take me outside of who I am, stress me out, give you an anxiety attack, and cause friction in our work relationship? It's unnecessary.
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
grateful that I have a team to work with and we're going to work it out.
Yes.
So,
Mhm. Which again goes back to aligns with the description of a true warrior is one who realizes that confrontation or combat is a waste of resources. It is only utilized as a last resort. Mhm.
yeah,
Uh,
because the cleanup is going to be massive, and it's
mhm.
going to take more for the cleanup than it did to go to war.
Yes, so if you think about your day-to-day activities, you know when you have these situations that take you out of character, that bring you a level of stress that stays with you beyond the situation. And then every time you tell it, because you can't wait to tell somebody what just happened. You ain't gonna believe what just happened. Well, come on, well, tell me. Now that person's feeding off your energy, and both of you are, riled up. But something that is over with.
Right.
But yet you're replaying it. Because see, here's the thing: just understand
And,
about those moments of stress and why
mm-hmm.
you know, you really want to manage it differently. Because stress is it's anything that causes your mind and body to be out of sync. Mhm. That's really what is happening is when you are, you know, uh, your mind and body, and even say spirit are aligned, you are in a place of peace.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. It's when something gets out of whack, and I don't care who you are, all right? When you're coming across that way, there's a piece of you that is out of line. Mhm. So if you want to become a master of yourself, you need to be mindful of, you know, what, you know, how am I coming across? You know, am I, you know, and if you can catch it, then somebody else doesn't have to tap you on the shoulder.
Right.
But you immediately go, oh, again, yeah, I know I was feeling some kind of way,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not who I am. That's not the character. That's not the person I'm trying to become. Describe it any way you want, but you got to recognize it first.
Right.
Mhm.
But even in that, coach, therapists actually tell their clients in order to shift that negative mindset
Mhm.
and energy to start and end their days with writing down something that they're thankful for, at least two or three things.
Yes. Mhm.
So that way it helps promote a more positive outlook
Mhm.
that will actually lead to eliminating or at least minimizing those negative interactions and thoughts.
Yes. Mhm. And now you say that I connect that with what something that they normally would speak of in the health and wellness area about and goal setting is about creating the environment
Mhm.
uh, for the person you're trying to become. Mhm. So again, you want to become more physically active, create an environment. You know
Mhm.
what? You want to
Mhm.
become healthier, create the environment. Whatever goal that you're trying to set, create the environment
Right.
first, and you will actually acclimate. Mhm. Uh, and that again, applies basically, you know, to what we're talking about now.
Mhm.
So, how do I become a more mindful person? Because I think at the base of all of this, Coach Mitchell, it's an act of mindfulness.
Mhm.
Again, being in the moment,
Mhm.
which leads you to being able to respond instead of reacting. To always be thankful for anything that a stranger may do, no matter how small. Like, you know, I just believe that someone opens the door for you, holds the door for you, I say thank you, and say thank you, with a smile. And then I try to make it a habit of looking at them when I'm acknowledging them and being grateful.
Mhm.
Mhm. Because that may set a trend for that day by you showing that person. That may do something for that person who will then show it to someone else, because everybody's talking about, how bad the world is, but nobody wants to make the change to contribute to improve it.
Exactly. 'Cause we were talking about that earlier when it comes to some of the,
Mm.
community groups, I would say that, we may belong to, and how, for the most part, I'll use gardening as an example.
Mhm.
We have those community groups in common, and for the most part, 99.9%, it's all about posting positivity and helping others, you know, in their endeavors to garden, right? And become better gardeners, whether it's produce or plants or whatever it might be. And then you may have someone who comes on and they have a negative comment. And
Mm.
what I love about the groups, those types of groups, for the most part, there is a lot of positive individuals that will shut down the negative narrative before it starts
Mhm. Mhm.
or before it can snowball. And I think that's important because it goes to show that not everybody is trying to improve upon who they are. And some people are looking for ways to antagonize, to bring people
Hmm.
into their negative space.
Yeah. Mhm.
Some people are looking for a fight. But what I really love about those common groups is the cultural aspect of community,
Yes. True
where
community.
true
Yes.
community,
Mhm.
where no harm comes to one.
Right. Mhm.
No harm comes to one.
Mhm.
We're here to support each other collectively, and that's what we're going to do. And anything that comes against that is going to be shut down. And I think that's how we should live our lives philosophically.
Mhm.
We should live our lives in a space of not just being appreciative and thankful, but inclusive,
Mhm.
being able to understand other people, their cultures, their thoughts, what's happening. I think once we begin to develop the empathy for others, it helps us show appreciation for who they are,
Yes.
for who they
Mhm.
are. So I think, back to those types of community groups where you're not upholding the negative narrative and you're not allowing the negative banter to come into play and you're not just jumping on a bandwagon, I think that will help develop your gratitude, develop your appreciation, develop your thankfulness, and develop your happiness for the environment around you.
Mhm. Mhm. You actually, again, you raised a lot of really good points there, Coach Mitchell. Um, you know that I've been, saying for most of this year that I think a lot of our issues come from the fact that we're just disconnected.
Mhm.
Uh, and it's interesting because now I've seen that or heard that, uh, from other sources that the the role that this disconnection is playing out in our lives. It's manifesting the issues or the disease of it is manifesting differently, but that disconnection leads to this feeling of unhappiness,
Mhm.
uh, which again leads to focusing on everything that you don't have, everything that's wrong. Uh, and part of that is people not willing to step up and do the work again, because like I said, I am big in connecting the dots. So I could drill down. I'm willing to drill down and then build back up to tell people, this is what issues. First, recognize you're disconnected. Mhm. Oh no, I'm not. Well, just mere fact that you responded, let me know that you're disconnected because you would know. Like I said, you would be willing to admit, like you haven't seen it because, like for instance, I'll give you classic example. If a person is unhealthy, they're disconnected from themselves. You know? If someone is willingly choosing to be unhealthy, they're disconnected from themselves. If people throw litter, you know, on the ground or disrespect, the environment, they're disconnected from nature. Mhm. Like we could go through a list. If some people are just tripping, they're disconnected from reality. Mhm.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
coach.
and we could like, point out so many things. So it's coming back to being whole, and being whole is building those connections. And until you become whole, you're going to struggle with being happy. You'll always have this piece of misery inside of you that will play out. You know, and whole doesn't mean having everything that you want,
That's true.
but being grateful for what you have basically takes you to that point where I'm good with what I have. Do I want more? One of my sayings is always be thankful, never be satisfied,
Mhm.
you know, which means I'm always reaching, always striving for something else. It doesn't necessarily be, materialistic, but I'm always thankful for what I have.
Yeah, absolutely. And coach, one thing that brought what came to mind when you were talking about individuals looking inside within themselves is this image came to mind, this visual. If you've ever watched the rodeo and you see the horses running around the corral, and it's an act. So you have someone riding the horse and they're, jogging around the corral. And the horse is going at a moderate rate of speed, and then someone else jumps on the back of the horse as the horse goes around, and then they get a third person to jump. The object of this game is to not miss the horse, to jump on the back of the horse. But just that visual, that concept of people just jumping on just because it's coming around is what you see happening with what's happening in the world.
Right.
And on a lot of these social media platforms, people are just regurgitating what they hear, or they're just taking what they hear and they're running with it. And no one is really going any deeper than the surface of what has been received.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not thinking for themselves. And I think that is the dangerous part of accepting cultural norms,
Mm-hmm.
because there's absolutely no way that you can empathize or show appreciation and gratitude if you don't have your own mindset around what's happening in well, first of all, within yourself, and then within your environment. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's one of the things that we have to get clear about. And I don't care what sector or what system you're looking at, whether it's healthcare, whether it's government, whether it's politics, religion, we have to stop taking the sound bites as gospel.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to take more of a didactic perspective of those things. And the challenge is to challenge what you've been fed,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and to not argue a point on opinion, but challenge it by really doing the research, really understanding, getting to understand those things that you really feel passionate about. Do you really feel passionate about something that's true and real and authentic? Or are you just running off of the sound bites?
Mm-hmm.
And, that will not be an easy pill to swallow when we start dissecting our belief system, because that's basically what it is. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be one of the most challenging things that you're going to confront. But I guarantee you, once you sit with yourself and really start developing your core beliefs, it will bring you to a place of gratitude,
Mm-hmm.
because you will appreciate the fact that you stopped believing the agendas that are being pushed. And if you're just joining, I'm not talking about any particular area of a system or a structure. I'm talking about everything, even from what your parents may have taught
Mm-hmm.
you because of what they were taught. But when you start to dissect that, you begin to develop a whole new perspective. And in developing a new perspective, or just a perspective of awareness and understanding, you are able to appreciate not just your journey, but where you're headed.
Well said. Mm-hmm. This
Hi,
all
Dr. Nicole. I'm sorry, Coach.
okay.
Thanks for joining.
This all aligns with becoming someone that you are grateful for being. Now, some people you could be a vicious person and be thankful for being that vicious person, but chances are it's probably not going to happen that way.
Right.
Because deep down inside, you know that the person that you are is not
someone that
Yeah.
anyone wants to be
Yes.
around or bother with.
Yeah. You are acting out something that's missing inside of you. Mhm.
Hmm.
And part, like I said, you know, some of the things that Coach Mitchell said, I think are so on point. Mhm. We got to really take analysis of our thoughts. You talking about, I say, our belief system, which most often is just our BS. All right. So, we call a belief system, it's just a polite way of saying it's a pretty good chance that's just your BS. Mhm.
Somebody said it.
Yeah. We don't, we often don't think about the things that we live by, our creed. We don't normally think, we just live it. You know? But maybe it's time to start thinking about, does that really match up with who I want to be, and why do I think that way?
Yeah.
Uh, you know what? One of the things that is definitely absent, I think, in society now is critical thinking. I've shared this with you in our conversations, coach, is on a lot of the, health and wellness sites, I will read the comment, and it is so often that people will dispute the information that we'll say the teacher or the person posting it has shared. They'll dispute it simply because it doesn't apply to them.
Hmm. Not going by the fact that
Mm,
either you have a clinician
mm,
who has actually spent decades in research
mhm.
of a matter, no matter
Yeah,
what that topic is, and they will give their layman's opinion and try to dispute and defunct what an experienced clinician is
right.
saying.
So, one of the things that I do on that is normal people will come back and then attack that person for their view.
Hmm.
My approach is I go above that person and I just write out, some of the things in terms, in a very general sense,
Hmm.
because it's not about attacking
Right.
that individual, but it's about bringing everybody up.
Into awareness.
Yes,
Hmm.
and I'll point out, just because grandma, you know what, drank every day, smoked, and lived to be 100, doesn't make those habits healthy, and it doesn't dispute what the content is conveying. Hmm? Grandma was an outlier. All right. There's outliers everywhere.
And grandma didn't eat processed foods every
Exactly. So maybe
day.
that
So
was
there
it.
was
you
the
know.
efficacy of what she was doing and the healthy foods that she was eating and the organic foods didn't contradict each other versus the processed food and what you're doing is just having a snowball effect and it's blowing up inside of you. So
So yeah, I often have to remind people that
factors,
yeah,
factors.
that health is is a cumulative. It requires a lot of things. It's not just one thing. Now, having said that, again, going back to becoming critical thinkers, I think first is people just have to start thinking. Mhm. Because quite often when we go back to reacting as opposed to responding, we react because we haven't taken time to think about it.
Hmm.
When you have a moment to think about it, would you would you move from reaction to response? Uh, and then when you made it part of who you are, your reaction slash your response will be the same because now it's in you. It's like some people who they've got to a point where they don't raise their voice. It's part of who they are. Mhm. Now, uh, what? Like I said, if this whole journey is to really get to a point where you are in a place of peace, if you are in a place of combat day after day after day, the combat is internal. Your outer world is just a reflection of your inner world. You know? That's
Hmm.
why self mastery brings you where it doesn't make you a warrior where you're conquering everybody, because the thing is, you have to conquer yourself.
Exactly.
Uh, and if you are unable to do that, you will never be a warrior in any space. You know, we used to have this quiet kind of standard that we would share when I was at the academy. And we always judge somebody with a simple, there was a simple metric. Didn't
Mhm.
matter how any of the other things were, how smart they were, how well they did academically, physically. It was always came down to this. Would I follow that person into battle?
Mhm.
Because that would let me know, would give you an idea of how trustworthy they were. Now, a good person would always avoid taking you into battle,
Mhm.
you know, and that's what you want. You want to be around people, not because they're weak, but because they're able to, like I said, violence is just an expression that your problem has exceeded your intellect. All right, let me repeat that again.
Yeah,
Mhm.
do
You
that
know,
because that is so
yeah,
true.
violence is just the expression that your problem has exceeded your
You gotta
intellect.
type that out. Wait
No.
a minute.
Mhm.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. But I mean, if you really let that resonate,
Mhm.
if you think about it, man, most of what we see playing out
Right now? Yeah.
is beyond people's intellect
Yes. Mhm.
because you get to the point where you are so frustrated because you run out of words, your dialect will not allow for your intellect to kick in,
Mhm. And
or your intellect won't allow your dialect to kick in
yes,
because you're limited in your intellectual knowledge or intelligence that you resort to your animalistic instinct,
yes,
which
and
is
there,
to
yes.
fight
Mhm.
or flee,
Yeah.
right?
It's actually been proven after studying. They say most people who have a criminal behavior or violent behavior also tend to lack language skills. So they're equated that when we are lost, when we lose our ability to communicate
Mm-hmm.
or are don't have the ability to communicate,
Mm-hmm.
we tend to be more violent.
Okay, so repeat that.
Now, my quote, my original quote was, violence is nothing more than the expression that our problem has exceeded our intellect. Mhm.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Now, so language is definitely associated with, I'm going to use, violent behavior, disruptive behavior.
Uh-huh.
There's a connection there. So, which is why when you ever see somebody who gets so frustrated that they can't speak,
Mm-hmm.
they become more agitated. They move into the physical. Now, that physical may not, you know, become violent, but you definitely see, mhm, the physical part, it manifesting in their physicality and their
Mm-hmm.
behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we look at uh, some of the greatest orators, mhm, they were always kind of calm. They would cut you down, even with fierce words,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
language. You know, they commanded their space through the language.
Well, even in modern
Mhm,
times, you can do
mhm,
that with the early
mhm,
adoption of rap
mhm,
music, right?
mhm.
Where they had rap battles, and it was
Yes,
more or less claiming their turf with your words,
with their words.
with your words.
Mhm, yeah,
It evolved in different areas of the country into something different, but again, it was
mhm,
they were taking each other down with their words or
yeah,
rising up
yes,
above the other based
with their
on how
words.
good they could lay
Yeah.
that rap out.
Mhm,
So
mhm. So again, not to get off track, but
yes.
you know, uh, yes, language is the ability to communicate is extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you know, and now, like I said, just coming back to the having the ability to express yourself, I think is key. And you want to express your gratitude when given the opportunity, because when you do express your gratitude, something actually happens in your brain, actually, uh, your entire body, mhm, when you express sincere gratitude. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just it. It's something as simple now, and it's really great when it works really well when it's reflected back to you in the moment.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know,
Yes, and I was just going to add to that, like even in a relationship, when you're, you know, I can say to you, I appreciate you,
Mhm. Absolutely
but
right. I'm
I,
looking at, sorry, looking at,
mhm,
uh,
Dr. Nicole,
yes,
yeah, I can say I appreciate you, but it's going to mean more to you when I say to you, I appreciate you for always showing me support,
mhm, mhm,
lending a helping hand,
mhm,
or just encouraging me when I feel discouraged. That
mhm.
has much more impact. I mean, you can say yeah or nay.
Oh, are you talking specifically to me? Oh, okay.
I appreciate you versus what I just said.
Okay.
OMG.
No,
See,
no,
I don't
you know what? And I
talk.
want to say, you know what? My response would be, remember I said earlier about becoming a person that you're grateful for? I'm
Yes.
grateful for being me. It's like, no, no, you know what? It is a lot more impactful when it is shared in the moment. And again, uh, when I say reflected back, I don't mean the person expressing the gratitude back, but when, and I go back to saying thank you to someone and looking
Mm-hmm.
them in the eye
Mm-hmm.
and them appreciating that I acknowledge them. Because I think
Mm-hmm.
in all of this craziness that we're experiencing, most a part of it saying being disconnected,
Mm-hmm.
that disconnection is also seeking acknowledgement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people don't feel seen
Yes,
and
or
they don't
heard.
feel heard.
Yep. Which is, I think, another reason that's leading people to just, fly off the handle because they want to be heard. And I, shared this before that, you know what? Some people don't feel like they're heard at home. Some people don't feel like they're heard in the office. Yeah. So you cross them the wrong way, they're going to unleash on you because all they want to do is to be heard
That's right. And
and
not be dismissed.
and not be dismissed.
That's another thing that happens, in not showing gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
But we flip that, and by showing gratitude, you do acknowledge another person's
Yes. Contribution.
contribution.
Yep. And I
You
think deep
know,
down inside, that's what we all want.
yep.
Uh, you know, and once say 24/7, yeah, possibly. I think it's just a human, it's a part of being human that, yeah, we want to be acknowledged somewhat,
Yep.
mostly, and preferably by people that we care about and we think that they care about us. And that could be people in the office, people that we work with,
Mhm.
So it's not just family, but deep down inside, we're all looking for uh, a place, yeah, a place of acknowledgement and
We all want to be
appreciation.
valued
Yes.
in some form or fashion, big
Mhm.
or small,
Yes.
because it doesn't take a lot.
Mhm.
Doesn't a thank you goes a long way.
Yes.
It goes a long way.
Mhm.
Well, Coach, any last minute points that you want to share before we wrap up? We are a
Uh,
little over today.
yes. I just want to say, you know what, you guys, you know what, listeners, you missed a really good session last night, a health and wellness session where we had the opportunity to talk to a certified nutritionist and herbalist, and we had a really good discussion again.
Yeah,
As always, I went like an hour and a half.
yeah.
Uh, but you know what? She was really helpful in terms of, or we appreciated her sharing her knowledge, and she enjoyed sharing her knowledge, which made the conversation, you know, uh, really, I think, helpful to those who watch it. And I just really want to encourage it. You know what? Yeah, it is time as we go prepare for the 2024. It is really time that you take control of your health. I could list a whole bunch of statistics. I could list information predicting certain things, but it is time to stop playing around, you know, with making bad health choices.
Mhm.
You know?
Yep. You're looking at the whole person, not just
Yes.
one component, one aspect. We need to be looking at our complete whole selves, mind, body, and soul. Because, like Coach said, our discussion last night Oh, it was so insightful
Mhm.
and just chock full of good information. We hope you go back and listen to the recording. Yeah, I mean, since it is recorded, you can soundbite it. You can take your time viewing different parts of it. But it was a really good, in-depth conversation that we had with Audie,
Yes.
our nutritionist, our
Mm.
certified herbalist and nutritionist.
Mm. Um,
All right, so Coach,
you know, so like I said, you know what? Just strive, you know what, to become better version of yourself each and every day. You know, if you don't know where to start, I say just start walking because in order to get, you know, to get anywhere, you got to start somewhere. So just take a step. Don't even worry about the
absolutely.
direction. Just start walking.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And listen, so for the remainder of the week, just set a goal to express gratitude, whether it's, 2 or 3 times a day or at least one person a day, and write a gratitude. Start a gratitude journal and write down some of the things that you're grateful for. Listen, we hope this discussion was helpful tonight and that it shed a little bit of light on the power of thankfulness, being appreciative, and having gratitude just towards the small things, not just the big things, but all things in life.
Mhm.
So listen, as I always say, if you don't start now, there can be no next. I'm Coach Mitchell.
I'm Coach Darren.
Join us tomorrow night as we share with you some health and wellness tips to help you hopefully along on your health and wellness journey. See you tomorrow night at 8 p.m. right back here on the Power of Now on Inside Outside Wellness Wednesday.